Hey cats, it's EDDBUD here. Today, one of my world famous comparison videos for you, the SAUCONY Endorphin Speed 3 versus the rest, part 1. Today I'm testing this blue beast up against a whole range of different shoes in my collection. There's so many that seem to draw a good comparison against the Endorphin Speed 3. Really enjoying this one so far, in a sort of polystyrene sort of way. If you haven't done so already, help the channel to hit 30,000 subs. We're almost there. You could be the one that pushes us over the edge. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications. Also give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. Merci beaucoup. I've tried to select some obvious and not so obvious comparisons in today's video for you, just to try and draw a bit of discussion really. I always think it's quite a nice thing to do. It's good to talk. I've selected some shoes that have a similar price, intended use case, and perhaps technology. Let's get to it. First shoe up against the Speed 3 is the Takumi Sen 8. Oh, what a shoe. You cats all remember just how much I love this shoe. It got better and better over time. How does it shape up against Saucony's Endorphin Speed 3? So similar price here, but certainly a very different intended use case. Perhaps where the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 could be used up to the marathon distance, I don't think the same could be said against the Takumi Sen 8. Probably a half marathon shoe for me, this one. That's as far as I would probably want to go in it. Similar price though, they certainly market this one as a race shoe rather than one for training. I think the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3's just got a really varied use case. You could use it for practically anything. I mean, you could even wander downtown in it and perhaps buy yourself a nice sandwich. I don't think that's really what Saucony intended it for. You know what I mean though, you could use it as a sort of daily use type of shoe. I don't think anyone's going to be wandering around and use the Takumi Sen 8 as a casual shoe. The Sen 8 is vastly lower in that midsole stack. It is quite noticeable. It's more responsive and slightly more firm feel. And I certainly think the Sen 8 toasts the Saucony when it comes to outsole grip. That said, the Speed 3 is an improvement over the previous two versions of the shoe. I even found the Sen 8 had some fortitude when it came to using it on a park trail 10k race earlier in the year. I'm not entirely sure I'd want to use this shoe on that. I just feel that the foam itself's a little bit too brittle for it. If you're looking for stability, the Speed 3 has quite a bit more width in it in the heel compared to the Sen 8. Very much for a shoe for specific purposes here. You can get away with using this one for practically anything. I think you'd reserve this one for your faster paced sessions or racing. If I could have only one, I'm going to cop out on this one and say I'll have both of them because I love them to bits. Second shoe up in the comparison today is the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite. Now you might be saying, Ed, this shoe looks practically unused. That's because it is. I'm holding this one back for doing some racing in it a bit later in the year. I have another pair with about 75 miles or so into them, so I have some good experiences underfoot. Again, similar costs here and a slimmer shoe in the Puma. It is quite a bit narrower, certainly in the heel. I think the weight difference is about 31 grams in my UK size 11, US size 12. I think it's about a centimetre narrower actually than the Speed 3 here in the Deviate Nitro Elite. I think the Nitro Elite foam here in the Puma is a little bit closer of a match to the Speed 3 than the Takumi Sen Light Strike Pro. If I had to conjure up some words to describe the midsole here in the Speed 3, one would be brittle, squashy, and soft. It certainly is actually the most squashy of the three versions I've tried so far. I never recall the first version of the Speed being this squashy. Maybe they've switched up the formula a little bit of their Power Run PB stuff, but if you have any information on that, let me know. The upper of these two shoes is probably where they differ the most. There's a dense engineered mesh here in the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite, and a sort of more woven type material here in the Speed 3. I find both of them very, very flexible, although I think the Puma's a little bit cooler, certainly if you're going to be running in a much warmer climate. Though if your preference is for materials in the upper that are more traditional, then the Speed 3 is probably your bag. I'm measuring a little bit less 4-foot stack here in the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite. I think it's exactly the same in the heel, but it does feel a little bit more aggressive and propulsive over the Speed 3. Again, this feels more like a race shoe to me, whereas the Saucony can do many things. I guess the Speed 3 is a little bit like Face Man from the A-Team, and this one's a bit more like Howlin' Mad Murdoch. Horses for courses again, and I think in terms of my requirements, The Puma Deviate Nitro Elite just edges it a little bit. But if I had to go to a desert island and have only one shoe that I could run in all day and night, and it'd probably be the Speed 3. There's quite a bit less toe box room in the Puma though, so do be warned, it is a narrower shoe. Outsole wise as well, you know Puma grip really lights my fire. Quick shoe check for you today. I'm rocking these blue, white and black Air Jordan 1s. I have subbed out the laces for some white ones. I think it provides a little bit more balance to the colourway. And no matter what anyone tells you, Jordan 1s are actually pretty comfortable. Certainly the more modern versions of them. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, guys. I do have an initial review of the Adidas Adizero Adios 7. You'll remember the Adios 6 was one of my favourite shoes of last year. You can see what I make of this new one. The third shoe on today's comparison is something very close in cost, but with a more niche use case. I've included this one mainly due to the price, but also the presence of a carbon plate within the midsole. We have the SC Pacer from New Balance. My word, this shoe is light. You've got a super light and flexible upper here on the Pacer. It is practically see-through. There are many holes there. Everything's kind of weight relieved on this shoe, and they've tried to make it the most nimble and sort of propulsive, I suppose, as they can. It makes the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 almost look plush by comparison. You really do appreciate what a unicorn shoe the Speed 3 is when you hold something like the Pacer in your hands. This harks back a little bit to what race flats used to be, and now we've got shoes like this that are incredibly cushioned and forgiving, but you can use for practically anything. Just a slither of foam, you could say it's wafer thin. And now people like crave the highest midsole stacks they can get. They're just unrecognisable to those past race flat shoes, aren't they? This is probably all that's left really of those old style race shoes. I think this is a great lower distance pace shoe. If you're going to be running at your top speeds or trying to improve your high end speed, then I think the SC Pacer is going to be one you want to test out. Only though if you're running on concrete or roads or track. I think if you're going to run on anything else in this shoe, it's going to absolutely mulch up the exposed midsole material here. I think it's a meagre stack in this one, about 27mm in the heel and 22 in the forefoot, and a very narrow heel that's probably going to put off quite a few people from testing the shoe out. The only saving grace is it's heavily discounted right now on a number of retail stores. I found pairs for around about £100, which is about £60 off of the retail cost. About 35 grams lighter than the Endorphin Speed 3, and you can really feel that too, but it's a vastly more limited use case in the SC Pacer from New Balance. It's just more fuel to the fire that shows us why this shoe is so well regarded within the running community. It makes the SC Pacer a bit of a tough sell really. If you could only have one, of course you'd go for the Speed 3. But fortunately most of us don't only have to have one, and we can have a few. 10 or 20 or more. I promise I will get rid of some of them if my wife's watching this. Last shoe up today is the FLOATRIDE Energy X from REEBOK. Now you might say, why on earth he included this one? It's quite a bit heavier. Surely it's not really a good comparison. Well, I think it is. Part plated shoe here and a very similar midsole stack to the Speed 3. Though a much lower retail price. I've seen these as low as about £90 recently over here in the UK. I have to let you know something amazing with REEBOK. I did order a pair of shoes for Mrs. EDDBUD yesterday, and they arrived less than 24 hours later. That is insane. So REEBOK, absolutely fantastic in terms of delivery. You can't beat that, less than 24 hours. This doesn't quite have the same nimble nature as the Power Run PB material that we find in Saucony's shoe, but I think it more than makes up for that in terms of the incredible stability and cushion that we get here in the midsole. You've got a very wide heel here, and I think that's going to help out a lot of runners that perhaps have some stability issues. Not really a stability shoe, but one that's got such a mammoth amount of cushion is bound to help you out a little bit. Grip, absolutely great. Though I find this shoe really is one for those longer, slower paced efforts. It's probably not something you're going to want to run any sort of speed workouts in. A perfect one for marathon training, and I think it could actually fit in quite well into a shoe rotation with the Speed 3. I think it could share the load a little bit off of that shoe so you can let the foam recover and relax. Do foams relax? I suppose so. Yeah, they do. Surprisingly cushioned, this one, once you've got it on foot, and actually the closest probably on today's comparison video against all the other shoes compared to the Speed 3. Yes, there's 34 grams of extra weight here in the Reebok, but you kind of gain from that with the extra cushion underfoot. It's just a number of similarities here, and I feel that it really does fit in with the Speed 3 if you're looking for another shoe to add in. Certainly a winner for value, and even at the retail cost, I think it's worth a shot. Though the Speed 3 really is tough to beat as a do-it-all shoe. So that's all of today's comparisons. If there's a specific shoe that you'd like me to compare up against the Speed 3 from Saucony, let me know in the comments below. It's musical interlude time. Today we're dipping back into the past with the Arctic Monkeys album from 2011, Suck It and See. There's a particular track on this album that I really like. I like the mood of it, I like the atmosphere of it. It sounds a little bit like a outtake like from a Velvet Underground record, and that is the song Don't Sit Down 'Cause I've Moved Your Chair. Now, I can remember someone playing this sort of trick on me when I was at school, you know, trying to get you to sit down and then moving your chair out of the way and you sort of fall on your bottom, and it's awfully funny. But that phrase always rings in my mind, don't sit down because I've moved your chair. Now, this has a gargantuan riff, the bass and the guitars all sort of double up on that riff. Just sounds really low, really pummeling. To me, it always sounds a little bit like the Arctic Monkeys version of Blur's Song 2. That same impact there, although this is a wash in reverb and not quite so lo-fi as Blur's offering. There's some great tracks on this album. It really is one of their better ones if you ask me, although all of them are pretty good. Go and check it out, guys. Suck It and See by the Arctic Monkeys. Thanks for tuning in today. It's always appreciated. Hit that subscribe button and help us get to 30,000 subscribers. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. Hit us up with a super chat as well. If you've got a specific question you want to ask me, you can help support the channel, as revenues are somewhat odd and unpredictable at the moment on YouTube. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you